Hello and welcome to Color Yoga. If you're new here, my name is Kyle, and for the next month, I'm going to be joined by some friends on the channel. This October, it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome my peers from the South African yoga community. So for the next 30 days, a different teacher will lead you on your daily practice right here on the Color Yoga studio. And I hope that you'll be inspired by the blend and the different styles and personalities as I've been. And not only do I want this to be a showcase for the immense talent that we have in South Africa, but we are also supporting the Earthchild Project, a local yoga-based NGO. We all know how much yoga has changed our lives, so go and have a look and support. We have such a great opportunity to make a positive impact, and I'm so excited to host this series. So lay down your mats, take a deep breath, and let's dive gently into the magic of yoga.
Hi, welcome to the 30-day yoga challenge. My name is Nicky. I am a holistic physiotherapist from Cape Town. Initially, I planned a slow flow hatha class because I was trained in hatha, and it was really long and cuck boring. So I went back to the drawing board and put together a class that I myself would want to do rather than what I thought I should teach. So today I'm sharing a quick grounding spinal mobility class, and I hope you enjoy it. The props that you might need, 2 yoga blocks, if you can just leave them at the top of the mat, and a rolled up towel and possibly a cushion, just in case there's some props that are needed to make your body a bit more comfortable. The towel and the cushion we'll be using just for the first posture, so go and grab it quick if you think you might need it. We'll be starting off in child's pose with knees together. So we'll turn to the front of the mat, ankles together, knees together, and you're sitting your bum nice and close down to your heels. In this position, if there's a pull in the ankles, a rolled up towel under the front of the ankles is great. If the knees are a bit tight, a cushion tucked right in behind the knee joint gives a lot of relief from that and feels really good. We're sinking the bum down to the heels and then slowly placing your belly onto your thighs, lengthening out the spine, keeping the bum grounded. And then just drape your rib cage over the edge of your knees and place your hands wherever they'll give you the support so that you can completely relax your spine and rest your head on the mat. We're going to be spending 5 to 10 breaths here. So really let yourself get comfortable and tune into your body before we start moving. Soften the belly. Let the neck completely relax and the ground take the weight of the head. And then relax the shoulders and let the arms rest on the ground. Take 3 slow, long breaths into your belly and feel it pressing into your thighs. On the exhale, let your body relax even more into the ground. 2 more breaths like that. Unlocking the jaw, relaxing the tongue. Last exhale. We're taking the arms forward, so lift up the head and extend the arms to the top of the mat. Take a moment to straighten out your spine, lift the ribs off the thighs, and then walk the hands to the left side. Just as far as you need to go before you feel a stretch in the right side of the body. Keep the arms straight, keep the right sitting bone grounded on the heel, and again, relax the neck completely. Take an expansive breath into the rib cage. And on your exhale, roll your shoulder blade, your right shoulder blade, closer to the ground. 1 more inhale. Last exhale. Lift the head to look at the fingers, come up onto the fingertips, and walk all the way over to the right-hand side. Wherever you start to feel a stretch on the left is where you place the hands down. Arms stay straight and resting head down towards the floor.
Nice inhale into the rib cage. Spreading the shoulder blades wide. And as you exhale, rolling the left shoulder blade closer to the floor. Another expansive inhale. Another exhale, relaxing the chest. On your next inhale, come up onto your fingertips, and we're walking back to the midline. Again, lift your chest off your thighs, lengthen the spine, and then we're threading the left arm underneath the right. So we're going to twist our chest to the right, threading the left arm down, place the palm on the floor. Maybe you need to lift up your bum a little bit in order to get the shoulder down to the floor. Maybe you can rest the shoulder on the floor, maybe you can rest the head on the floor, and then extending the right arm so that you're supported in this position. It's okay if the pelvis sways slightly to the right. We're looking for as much of a twist as we can in the upper back. And once you've found your comfortable position, take one deep breath here, and on the exhale, come back to the center. Same thing to the other side. So we're lengthening the spine, lifting the hips, and then threading the right arm through, placing the palm down, lowering the shoulder, lowering the head, and placing the left arm wherever is comfortable. I'm being strangled by my hair. So once you've found that deep twist in the upper back, maybe you've let your pelvis move to the side, taking a deep breath into the ribs. Exhale, coming back to the center. We're going to lift up onto all fours and give the knees a little bit of a break. So tucking the toes under, briefly push the bum back to the heels, keeping the bum nice and low, bringing the knees into the chest, and then come back to all fours. Just do this movement a few times to loosen up the ankles, to loosen up the shoulders. See if you can keep pressing into the ground as you're doing the movement. And let the neck be relaxed. It's just following the movement of the rest of the spine. We're going to place the knees down. Knees are hip width apart, under shoulders. Hands are underneath. No. Knees are hip width apart, under hips. Hands are shoulder width apart, under shoulders. My hair is away from the microphone. Lovely. Now we're extending one leg back. I'm starting with the left leg. And as you extend the leg back, keep your lower belly drawn in and press into the hands so we're not collapsing the shoulder blades. You're holding this here with that control coming from your core, and just bend and straighten the knees a few times. Just the one knee, just the one knee. Loosening up the front of the thigh. Sometimes the hamstring cramps when we're doing this exercise. If it does, just place it out to the side or in front of you, give it a bit of a stretch, and come back into it. Then we're holding the knee bent, and we're drawing nice big circles with the knee. So the first couple of times, do it slowly. You can allow the pelvis to follow the movement of the leg. And you're feeling for the edges of the hip joint. You're really taking it all the way around the socket of the hip joint. Change direction. Maybe when you change direction, check in with what's happening with your upper back. See if your upper back can stay stable while the leg and the pelvis is moving. We're switching to the other side. So extending the leg first, drawing in the lower belly, pressing out of the hands, and then just bending and straightening that right leg. In this position, it's helpful to think of the head just being an elongation of the rest of the spine. And we also want to imagine that we're holding something underneath our chin that keeps the back of the neck nice and long. We're going to hold the knee in the bent position and draw nice big circles with the other side. Taking it slow, feeling for the edges of the joint, and then changing direction. Just to give another little press into the shoulders to make sure we're not sinking into the shoulder blades. Lovely. Place that knee down. I'm going to scooch a little bit back on the mat. we're moving into a puppy pose. So you're walking the hands just a little bit forwards and allowing the hips to sink back as you drop the chest towards the mat. Forehead can come to rest on the mat. If this is quite an intense stretch or there's a pinching in the shoulders, it's really nice to have just a little bit of support under the forehead so that you can allow the chest to sink towards the mat. And play around here for a bit, finding a place where you can release the abdominal muscles. You can reach forwards with the hands and you can stretch back with the sitting bones. Either with the block or with the forehead on the mat. I'd like the neck to be completely relaxed if possible. And as you're breathing into that lengthened tummy muscle. Let's take one last breath here. Press into the hands and lift the head and the rib cage up slightly. Maybe just glance at me to understand this next movement. We're drawing circles with the rib cage. So staying in this puppy pose, maybe not as deep as we were before, we're circling the rib cage first to the left, then pressing into the hands so that there's a gentle rounding in the upper back, then circling around to the right and dropping down. I like to inhale up and around and exhale as I sink down. One more like that. And then change direction. Circling to the right and up, pressing into the hands, left and down. Neck is just following the movement of the upper back. And one more. We're going to walk the hands in now. Plant the palms, tuck the toes, and let's lift up into a downward dog. This downward dog, I'd like lots of movement. We're still warming and opening up hips and shoulders, so bending, straightening the knees, swaying side to side, maybe looking under one arm at a time. Whatever feels nice and feels like it gives you a stretch in the place that you'd like it the most in your spine. Come to stillness in your downward dog. Look towards your hands and step your right foot forward. Straightening out both legs, I'm turning to face you. We're keeping the legs nice and wide, going into a wide-legged forward fold. If the legs are too wide, you might feel like you can't really draw the feet together. So find a placement where you can still get that feeling of squeezing ankles towards each other to fire up the inside of your legs. From here, we're hinging forwards at the hips, keeping the spine nice and straight, and going all the way down into our fold. Hands placed underneath the shoulders, maybe in between the legs, wherever is comfortable so that you can relax the shoulders and let the crown of the head relax to the floor. I like to do a little sway here, just side to side with the pelvis. Let's come to the middle and take one more deep breath into your belly. And as you exhale, lower the hips down, coming into Melassa. In your Melassa, if your heels aren't on the ground, take the blocks and place them under the heels. Ooh, something popped out. No, it's fine. All good. So, blocks can be under the heels. Alternatively, it's quite nice to have a block underneath your pelvis if you feel like it's a huge effort to stay in your Melassa. I'll show you from the side, although Carl said I shouldn't because there's another camera. But what we're looking for is an extended spine here. Our palms are facing each other and the thumbs are pressing into the breastbone. And when we're in the Melassa, we can use our elbows to widen the hips and to help us lengthen that spine. There's an opening of the collarbones, which draws the shoulder blades down and back the spine.
The tailbone is dropping towards the floor and the crown of the head is reaching up. From here, we're adding in rotations. So if you'd like to use the block, you're welcome to. We're placing the left hand on the floor and reaching up and back with the right. So this left hand can help you twist a little bit deeper, and your gaze is following that right hand. We'll come back to the center and do the same on the other side. I'd like us to do this movement slowly so that we can feel that opening of the chest up towards the ceiling, and so that we can make sure that the neck isn't straining in this movement. The gaze can follow the hand, but I'd like the neck to stay as relaxed as possible. One more to each side. If your block was underneath you, you can move it out of the way. Place the hands down, and again, heel, toe, legs nice and wide. And we're bringing one block in front of us. We may need this for the next movement. So from our forward fold, we're lifting up. I've got the block under me to help me keep my spine nice and straight and long. The crown of the head is reaching away from the tailbone. And from here, bending into the right leg, coming into a bit of a side lunge. And again, we're doing this slowly initially, just to feel for the end of your range. How far can you go before you lose the straight spine or before your hip joint stops you? Once you feel comfortable with the movement, you can speed it up and maybe adding a little bit of a bounce at the end. Keep going with this. If you're happy with this level, you can stay here. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, lifting the hands off the block, crossing them at the chest, keeping the spine straight, and side lunging. If you'd like even a bit more of a challenge, coming to the center and extending your arms out in front of you. If you are here, watch out that the knees are not locking and that the neck and shoulders are not straining. The arms are reaching forward, the shoulders aren't up by the ears. Once you've had enough of this movement, you can come back to the center and go back to that standing forward fold. From here, place the hands on the ground and heel toe the feet together, bending the knees wherever you need to when your hamstrings start to pull. So keeping the knees bent, relaxing the body over the legs, crown of the head to the floor, and then slowly straightening the knees for a standing forward fold. And you can even bend and straighten a few times, just to feel where that start of the hamstring stretch comes in. Now keep the knees bent, activate your mula bandha, your pelvic floor, draw your belly in, tuck the tailbone under, and we're very slowly rolling up from the forward fold. So really taking your time so that you can feel each part of your spine move. If you're swaying side to side a little bit, that's no problem. Arms are heavy, head is heavy, and you're drawing the belly in to round slowly back into a standing position. I'm turning to the front of the mat, and we're going to take our blocks and place them at the front of the mat. I'm going to use 2 blocks stacked on top of each other, but you're welcome to try with 1 or none. We'll start in a standing position with a figure 4 stretch. So shifting the weight into your left heel, bring the right knee up, give it a little pull into the chest. And then we're crossing right ankle over the left knee. Find your balance, find a point to look at, and then slowly bending down until we feel the stretch in the right hip. Once you've got that stretch, relax the shoulders, lengthen the spine, and hold. The blocks are there for you to use if you are struggling a little bit with balance. The idea is that the bum is moving backwards for us to sink down rather than the body moving forward. Slowly come up with control, bringing the right knee into the chest. Give it a little bit of a squeeze. And then we're transitioning to Warrior 3 with the hands at the chest. Holding Warrior 3, this is where the blocks might come in handy, especially for me. I'm working with a knee injury, so I should have demonstrated on the good leg first. That's all good. From our Warrior 3, I'm going to go a little bit lower. So we're looking for the leg being an elongation of the rest of the spine. So if the leg isn't lifted as high, then the spine can stay at more of a diagonal. From here, I need to show on the other leg. From here, we are rotating the hip down to the floor and then pressing into the standing leg to lift the hip back up, maybe all the way to stacking it on top of the bottom hip, as we would for a half moon. Rotating down, and the chest might turn as you're rotating down, just to keep your balance. Back to Warrior 3, and then lifting up, stacking the hips as if for half moon. And you can do however many repetitions of this you would like to. That's enough for me. Once you've had enough, return to standing, shake the legs out, and we'll repeat the same on the other side. So now shifting weight into the right leg, bringing left knee into your chest, and then crossing ankle over. Find your point of focus, find your balance, and then sending the hips back, sinking down until you get that nice stretch in the left hip. Holding it here, straightening out the spine, relaxing the shoulders, breathing into your belly if possible. Coming up, lifting the left knee into the chest, giving it a bit of a squeeze, and then sending it back into your Warrior 3. In your Warrior 3, the leg that's extending back is in line with your spine, lengthening the crown of the head away from the tailbone, and then adding in those little pelvic rotations if you did it on the other side. Play around with that for as long as you'd like. And when you're done, we'll be meeting back in Melassa. So feet are mat width apart, sinking sitting bones down, and our fingers are interlaced with our hands out in front of us. In this position, I'd like us to let the spine round. The tailbone is almost tucking under, the chin is at the chest, and the arms are extended out in front of us. From this rounded position, we're standing up, lifting the arms up, lifting chest to ceiling, and letting our gaze move along with our arms up to the ceiling. So again, doing this movement slowly initially, feeling what the spine is doing, letting it round when you're down here, and standing into the legs, squeezing the bum, lifting the chest, taking the arms back, taking the gaze up. Once you feel comfortable with that, you can let it be a more fluid movement. And once you've got the motion, we're going to sync it with breathing. So we're exhaling down and rounding, and we're inhaling up and arching. Aim to do between 5 and 10.
On your last rounding, stay there, and then we're going to just pop our bums down onto the floor, maybe scooch back on the mat a little bit, and just take the legs side to side, giving ourselves a little bit of a breather. And for the next pose, taking the legs to the left-hand side and just leaving them there. The leg that is in front of you, I'd like the knee to be in line with the hip, the knee bent to 90 degrees, and the foot flexed also to 90 degrees. The leg that's out to the side, the knee is in line with you, also 90 degrees, 90 degrees. In this position, it's normal for that right hip to be lifted up. We're thinking of grounding it, but gently. This hip has a tendency to cramp when it's in the stretch. If that happens, just come out of it, shake it out, come back, and press into the stretch a little bit slower, a little bit more gently. From here, we're placing the hands in front of the body, and even this might be a deep enough stretch for you. If you'd like to take it deeper, lengthening the spine and walking the hands forward until you feel this left glute stretching. Wherever the end of your range is, supporting yourself there, either on elbows, elbows on legs, maybe up on hands, and just allowing the neck to relax. We're holding this for 3 breaths. Walk your hands back up to upright. Keeping the legs as they are, we're turning the chest to the right leg. Now, with this rotation, the right hip might drop down a little bit more. Maybe just the rotation is enough of a movement for you. Maybe you can reach to the leg, and maybe you can add a little bit of a forward fold, but just remember to go gently here. Place your hands behind you, and again, just windscreen wipers side to side. And we're repeating the same on the other side. Now taking the knees to the right, leaving them where they are. Right leg is in front of you, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Left leg out to the side, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Hands in front of the right leg, and hinging forwards, lengthening the spine, taking it to that right glute stretch. Once you've found that stretch, breathing deeply into the belly for 3 breaths. Walking the hands back in, turning to face the left leg, just feeling for that edge of the movement, and then gently bowing forwards towards the left leg. Coming back to upright, swinging both the legs in front of us. We're slowly going to go from this position to a lying position. So the same way that we moved 1 vertebra at a time in the roll up, we're now going to roll down onto our backs 1 vertebra at a time. So again, activating the mula bandha, drawing the lower belly in, tucking the tailbone under, and that rolling action, we're just continuing up the rest of the spine. Hands can be holding behind your knees if you'd like a little bit of support, or they can be extended in front of you, and taking it as slow as you can onto your back. Once you're there, bending the knees, the heels are coming close enough for your hands to graze them. Arms are resting at your side. We're going to do a little Pilates bridge followed by a yoga bridge. So the Pilates bridge is the same movement we just did. It's a drawing in of the lower belly, a tucking of the tailbone, and that action flattens your lower back.
Continuing this movement is scooping to lift up the glutes and then lifting up one vertebra at a time. The upper back stays pressing into the mat, the arms are pressing into the mat, and the glutes are doing the work here to lift the pelvis up until it's in line with knees and shoulders. Slowly coming down in the same way, tucking the rib cage in, drawing the belly in, scooping the pelvis under, and allowing one vertebra at a time to come down. We're going to repeat that 2 more times. So we've got squeezing of the glutes, drawing the lower belly in, curling to lift up the pelvis, and then squeezing the glutes to get the hips in line with the knees and shoulders, and slowly coming down. For the last one, I'd like you to place your hands on the rib cage. We're tucking the tailbone, scooping to lift, and I'd like you to feel for where the rib cage starts to take over and lift. And see if you can stop that. See if you can keep the ribs drawing in and use the backs of the legs and the glutes to really push so that the lift is coming from here more than from here. Coming down in the same way. And then just bring both legs in, squeezing your knees into your chest. You're welcome to rock side to side if you'd like to, or do little knee circles. And now we're moving on to the yoga bridge. So in the yoga bridge, the rib cage is encouraged to lift up. So our arms are straight at our sides, lifting the pelvis just off the mat, interlacing the hands behind your back. And then walking the shoulder blades together and pressing the hands towards the feet allows us to pop the rib cage up as if we're lifting it towards the chin. Then we're pressing into the feet and getting as much of a curve in the spine as we can. The arms are pressing into the floor, and if you can bring the base of your palms together, that would be great. Otherwise, just fingers interlaced, and the whole of the outside border of the arm is pressing into the ground. Glutes are squeezing, legs are working, as well as rib cage coming up. Release the hands, and slowly come back onto the mat. We're finishing off with one final spinal twist. Arms are in line with the chest, palms facing up. Wrapping eagle legs, if that's available to you, or just as close to that as is good. Placing the foot down, so that's right leg over left leg. Scooching the hips to the right, and then letting the legs fall over to the left, turning your gaze to the right hand. Stay here for at least 3 breaths. And your right arm can be in whatever position allows you to get your right shoulder a little bit closer to the ground. And coming back to the center, changing the cross of the legs. Scooch pelvis to the left, hips to the right, and turning your gaze to the left. Bringing legs back to the center, unravel the legs, give the ankles a little bit of a shake. Maybe lift up the arms and give the hands a little bit of a shake as well. And then we're setting up for a Shavasana. So legs are straight and relaxed, as wide as the mat, falling away from each other. Palms facing up, arms slightly away from the body. And then check that your neck is comfortable. In a Shavasana, typically they say no cushion under the head, but if the neck feels better with just a little bit of support, go for it. Take a few breaths to arrive in your body. Feel the weight of your body on the mat. And enjoy a few moments of silence. I'd like to encourage you to stay in your corpse pose for as long as you can. When you're done, roll onto one side of your body, press up into sitting, just take a few breaths to close off your practice before carrying on with the rest of your day. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed this quick spinal mobility class. Namaste.